Hey, my name is Chad. Welcome to this video where we are going to see if we can tackle a slight issue that I am noticing in my reloading attempts here. So to start out, I have to admit that today is Sunday and my plans were to spend all of the early afternoon running my errands, get home, and then go out and get my last bit of testing done. Through the week, I cleaned my barrel real good. Got it ready to go. I was going to go get it fouled today and then verify my my reloads and then take them out the distance, make sure everything worked right. And as soon as I got home from my errands, it started raining like pretty hard. Like I think we got about 7/10 of an inch, and the road to my range is completely muddy. So I did try to drive out there like right as the sun was going down. So by the time I actually got there, it was dark, but I could see the road was muddy. I wouldn't have made it anyway. So we're back home, and what I've noticed is that some of my bullet seating, after I have fired and then sized and mandreled these, some of the bullets are a little bit tight going in, and they were starting to shave off some of the jacket. So logic tells you, okay, we need to address the inside of these case mounts. So when these come from Alpha, they're pretty well just straight cut and seem to work fine on the first loadings, but now that they're sized down and everything, they're just not quite working as nicely as before. So I do have this old school handheld Hornady tool, and I spent some of the day on my trip here whenever I was sitting around doing nothing, doing the one at a time, and that can get the job done, but I've got about 100 cases and that gets pretty tedious. So we're going to see if we can swap calibers on my Henderson, which I've not had to do yet because my brass has not really grown to the trim length yet. So what I've got is my Hornady manual with all my notes on everything, and the case trim length is listed at 1.91, and this Alpha brass. And actually I noticed something, and this could be why I'm seeing slight variations. Let me know if this could be something that causes it. But the what I'm calling my lot number 1, it is exactly what it's supposed to be, 1.91. But I noticed my lot 2 is a little bit shorter. So I measured a couple of those and they were like 1.907, 908, all very consistent, but about 2 to 3 tenths shorter than the first lot. Could that be what is causing the variations in my speeds by 5 to 7 feet per second? I don't know. To me, I don't think it would, because that's just really the overall length, the shoulder measurement, that is all the same. So I don't think that is the culprit, but let me know if that could possibly be it. I'd be really intrigued to know. Maybe I just need to shoot them some more and get them broken in a little bit. One more thing I almost forgot before we get into this. So last week I showed off these inline fabrication panels, and I just haven't had time to get them installed. I'm probably going to have to do that the weekend after my match, because I just got too much that I need to do to get ready for it. But I got something in. So as you can see, it's got these hangers here. Now you can use all of these that look like key mod type hangers, and you can use those with the regular inline accessories that hang on the wall. So the screws go in just like on the rail, and then you can mount those all around here. But you'll notice it also has little bitty holes. So that's for pegboard hooks. So I was doing some searching on Amazon and found that there's a lot of companies that sell like little things like this, so little storage bins that can hang in the pegboard hooks. And then I picked up a huge assortment kit here that comes with a whole mess of different hooks, some different size bins, and ideally with all these additional bins and mounting one here on the rail behind me and then one on the wall over there, I'll be able to get all the stuff that's up on my countertop or my workbench tops up on the walls and hanging, hopefully looking a lot better. When we do that video, I will show you how much of a disaster, so everybody can make fun of me that my reloading room is a complete mess, but I work with what I got and time is limited. So cleaning up is very much a low priority for me, but this is going to help a lot. That'll be coming soon. So this is the Henderson. I already took the cover off and vacuumed out all the shavings from my previous use. But the way this works is there is like a stop here at the front of this. Your piece of brass will be grabbed by the collet here. Doing this at an awkward body angle, but that just locks in, and that's going to slide on. And as it goes down here, this cutter head is spinning, and it is going to cut inside chamfer and outside deburr all in one motion. Then there is a bolt here, and that is what's going to bang up against this front shuttle and put the stop in, so that has a hard stop that's consistent. And then you pull it out, just twist, loosen, drop down, and you're on to the next one. So to change out calibers, I'm going to have to change this cutter head because that's for my 223, and I need to change out this bolt. My idea right now is to try and keep the bolt and lock nut close to the same position so that I don't have to do a lot of adjustments again in the future. So we'll see how this actually works. I think to get me a little more space here, we're going to do the cutter first. So what I found is on the back side, there's a little hex key set screw, and I believe you just loosen this up, and then that lets you get into pulling out the cutter head. I will admit I don't rightly know how far this is supposed to loosen up, but that just came all the way out. So that's just a long screw all the way through there. I mean, in theory, it should just pull out now. Oh, there it goes. Okay. So that screw has to come all the way out, obviously. And then that's just going to release. So you can see we've got a threaded end back here, and just taper locks down into position there. So I don't have the wrench thin enough to fit here, so I just use some pliers to hold it in place. So now we'll take out my 6mm, and that's just going to pop in and then tighten back down. But before we do that, let's get this out of the way. Okay, so that idea did not quite work. I had the lock nut cinched down a little too tight, and I was turning this inner core piece here. So I'm probably going to have to recheck this next time I get back to doing 223. But I mean, I already have a bunch of brass processed, so I'm not going to be doing that for a while. But when I do, I will need to double check this. I was not sure what size of bolt I would need, so I picked up 2. Looks like that one right there is going to be the winner. Okay, so since this lock nut needs to go flat end down, what I did is run it on a little ways first and get the locking material kind of threaded through. And then I just started it and getting it worked into the threads. That should be more than enough. We're just going to drop in here and get that started. Now I'm going to leave this loose for now because I will have to obviously make adjustments. Then we just take our new cutter head. We're going to plop him right inside there. I did get this as a pre-adjusted part, so there's not anything I should have to do here. And we're going to come back in from the inside, start threading that in. And that seems to be all there is to changing the caliber on this. Okay, so I switched over to a 2-inch bolt from the 1.5 inch that I had, and that lets me have a little more length on this protrusion here. So as you go to a longer case, you're going to need a longer set screw. Okay, so I can see that we are just a hair away from touching the cutter on here. So what I'm probably going to do is see if I can tighten this. Ideally, I don't want to take any off of the length of it. The worst part of the Henderson is getting it set up. Once it's set up, it stays where you've got it, and it's quick to move and change around from there. Okay, so quick little update. I got everything set up a little bit better, and I realized as I was trying to set the stop on it, I was using my fired brass, so the necks were not quite as tight after being sized and then mandreled. So I went ahead and ran a few more through last night, and these are going to just be my final couple. But with the sized, it fits on much tighter, and it actually trims the inside quite a bit better. Let's try this. See here, it's just barely kissing the tip of them here. So all that's really doing is just cleaning up the end and then putting a deburr around the outside and a nice chamfer on the inside. So right now my plan is I'm going to load up 20. I've got 10 that I have manually done with the Hornady tool and nothing on the outside, and then 10, well really it'll end up being 13, but I'm only going to probably load 10 of them up, and these are going to be done with the Henderson. I just want to see if there's any difference before I run through and do all the rest of them as I load up this week with whatever I pick as my final load. Hey, if you like seeing me stumble through getting things set up as I change calibers and work on getting ready for my upcoming match, make sure you look down there, get subscribed. I really do appreciate it, and it really does help quite a bit. So get subscribed, follow along, and thank you very much for that. So I'm back from my little range trip, and I wanted to share my results, and of course it's the time that I asked you guys for what y'all's opinion is, and let me know, because at this point I've got to process all of my brass and get it loaded up ready for the match. So I think I mentioned that I cleaned my barrel and I shot about 25 rounds through it. You know, just some assorted stuff and some of the mixed primers that I had loaded up previously. So got several of those fired through, saw the speed start to settle. And while doing that, I was practicing moving around on my barricade wall thing. What got to me is I was able to get some hits out at like 350-ish yards. And then at 500, I was missing a little bit, even using correct speed data into my Kestrel. So then the couple of rounds that I loaded up to test and zero, make sure everything is set properly, I took those down to my spot and got it in the prone, got set up. At this point, it was pretty much sundown, and I was shooting in the flashlight again. But show you my results. So that was my first group, and once again I am off to the side. So I was like, well, that's not apparently just a shift of environmentals, like maybe steam coming up off the ground and causing me to see stuff funky through the scope. So I decided to go back, and I took 2 more shots, and they were also off to the left. I adjusted my windage on my turret and brought them in pretty well zeroed, so that was only 3 shots right there. Then I took my next batch and tried for just, you know, not adjusting my scope down to hit below the aiming point. I just wanted to make sure that I was pretty well zeroed. So this was one group there, and then obviously the other group here. Okay, so when I look at these, I get to thinking that I maybe adjusted a little bit too far left, so I came back about half of a notch, so maybe half of a tenth of a mil, and I pretty much didn't have time to do anything else, so we're going to call that good. I think that is going to be good enough of a zero to get me through this match. Now the weird thing, okay, so I had some pieces of brass that I had, you know, used the handheld way, and I tested 10 of those, and then using my Henderson, getting a nice, much more consistent cut on them, and I tested 10 of those. The ones that were hand chamfered out, they had an average speed around 2965, so I've dropped about 20 to 25 feet per second from cleaning my barrel. The ones that were done with the Henderson, they were about 2955 average. So I think more consistently, I will be better off if I go the way of using the Henderson, because that's going to do a much more consistent and cleaner cut on the inside and the outside. That's not going to focus. So, you know, between the two, I don't know if it's really worth the risk of being a little less consistent by manually doing it. So more than likely what I'm going to do is pop out all these primers tonight, and then I've got to run them through and anneal them, and then get them all sized and mandreled, and then I will run them through the Henderson and just clean up all the case mouths. I really should have done that from the beginning, but I thought I would be okay because the first loading was pretty decent, but as I get further into it, that's not going to be the case. So I definitely see why people do say take the time and process your brand new brass, because I should have done that. Would have saved me quite a bit of headache right now. But I've got to get that done this week. And then I'm trying to decide if I should keep with my powder charge that I've got good data on already, and I know makes pretty decent groups, at least plenty good enough for my PRS matches. But I could get it a little bit faster if I went up another 1/10 of a grain. I just don't know how that's going to perform throughout the rest of the match. So I think my best bet is just to keep with what I know now, load it up the same way I have been, and just keep an eye, throughout the afternoon. Maybe get speeds after a couple stages and see what they look like. If it seems pretty consistent, then I'm just going to run it. But I don't know, what would y'all do in this kind of situation? Let me know down there in the comments. I really appreciate all the tips and suggestions that everybody gives me. Well, it's almost 10 o'clock here, and I still got some work I need to get done before I can even start dinner for that evening. And then I got work tomorrow and all the rest of the week. So I might get a little bit of time to run out to my spot after we close on Saturday before it gets dark and just verify a few things real quick, make sure everything's going to be settled. I think I'm pretty good right now, but I would like to verify that my little comeback on my windage adjustment keeps me centered up, and verify a couple shots. If I can get like 2 or 3 hits at 500, then I'll be happy. I'm probably going to do that if I have the time to squeeze that in. Well, as usual, every time I think I get one thing figured out, something else pops up that seems to be a little bit of a hurdle that I've got to overcome. So I think I've got everything as lined up and in shape as I can right now. I've got almost all 100 pieces of brass that I need to get processed through the whole run of it, and then get them loaded up and ready to go. I probably am not going to finish that until Saturday night while I'm loading up my truck to get ready to go to the match on Sunday morning. So if you want to see how the match goes, make sure and get subscribed, follow along. I will be doing a match review after this match. If I feel confident enough, I'll throw the trigger cam on and run a couple of the stages, if not most of them, while recording. I just want to kind of see what I can do this second year from the beginning all the way through to the end. So you don't want to miss that. Get subscribed. And then next up, we've got installing the wall panels and getting my complete mess of a room somewhat cleaned up. Thank you for hanging out with me for a few minutes. I really do appreciate it. I hope you have a great rest of your day and a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.